Hi guys, and welcome to a review I have written down to remind me of The Golden Orchard. This was one that I listened to via Audible, and it is an Audible original. So I'm just pulling it up on Goodreads right now. So this is by Flora Ahn, and the narrator on this is Kathleen Cho, or I think it's Cho. So this one is, let me scroll to the bottom, it's a fantasy, has time travel, I would say middle grade, not young adult. It is tagged as both, as well as children's, but more middle grade. So this one we're following, Maya is the main character. So Maya lives with her mother, and they are Korean. And at the beginning of the book, you learn that Maya's grandmother comes to live with them. Now, it was my brain, but I'm assuming it was another issue with Audible, where it was an editing issue, because at times they would say it was Alzheimer's, but then it was also dementia, and it's one or the other. But both words were used in reference to the grandmother. So if listening to a book where the elder in the book has Alzheimer's or dementia, however it's said, is stressful and triggering to you, then definitely avoid this book. Now, what I loved, I ended up giving this, oh crap, I can't remember, I think 3 stars, or did I do, yeah, you know what, okay, so I have it as a 3-star, I don't think I'm going to change it, but it's a high 3-star, so probably like a 3.75, 3.5 at the lowest. What I liked about this one is the emphasis on family. So family is very, very important in this book, and it's there. You do see some communication issues between Maya and her mother, and then between the mother and the grandmother, and there is a reason for that, but you do find out later in the book. It's a little bit of a twist, but it was interesting. So one day Maya's mother has gone to work. So it's a single parent household, and it's just Maya and her grandmother. And Maya is just kind of hanging around, and her grandmother's like, hey, come help me make this particular food. And all the food that's made does have a Korean name, so I cannot pronounce it. Well, I could if I heard it again, but talking about it from memory, there is no way I could tell you what the food is. But that was really interesting to hear the different names of food. And the other thing that I really liked about this is the emphasis and tie that food will have with your memories and your feelings. So the first little bit, and this is where the time travel comes in. So Maya has helped her grandmother make this food. She sits down to eat it, and then Maya's grandmother grabs Maya's wrist, and all of a sudden they're in the past. Now, this is the type of past where you cannot change anything. You basically just are watching it kind of like a film. You can't interact with people, you can't touch people or anything, and things like that. So it's just, I don't know, food is powerful, family is powerful, and you put those two together, it can be a wonderful combination. We have food at gatherings, food at baby showers, food at weddings, at anniversaries, and food at funerals. So family is very important, but food kind of helps bring people together in a way, and you do get that a lot in this book, which is what I really liked. It just talked about how wonderful the food tasted, but obviously where I've never had Korean food and this food didn't sound familiar to me, I can't attest to if the food is actually good or not. I am assuming it is, But from a personal experience, I don't know. But it did make me want to find a restaurant and try some Korean food. I don't know of one. I'd have to do some looking, so I haven't done that, but maybe in the future. But I don't know. I just, it was very interesting to see. This is also one thing that I liked, is that you can, sometimes with some family, you can see the relation, as far as like similar looks, like you may have looked like your mother when they were your age or something like that, kind of along those lines. So it was very sweet like that. The other thing about this is it wasn't just solely focused on that. It was also a little bit of an underlying theme with friendship and how Maya can trust her best friend, and the conflicts that can arise with not withholding secrets back, things that you can share, but where you're not sure how someone will react, and so you kind of hold things back and close to your chest, or close to your heart. And some of the struggles with food, and it's like, yeah, Maya does good in school, and she is a very talented artist. You do learn that from the start. But how with group projects, family life can become so stressful at times and heavy that it can detract. And if you're doing a group project, it can lessen your contribution, and other people can get irritated. And that was very much a part of the story as well. It was a very small part, but it was still there. And so you do see the side effects of when you focus too much on one thing and neglect certain things, and how that can have an impact. So there's a lot of things that can be learned from this for a child or middle grader or whoever wants to read it. There's quite a few little stories that can be learned, or life lessons that can be learned. For me, family is extremely important, which I think it's very important to a lot of people. And I think what touched me the most is that it's my situation is similar in the fact that it's just me and my mom. And so in the book, it is Maya and her mom. So it's a mother-daughter relationship. Now, granted, Maya's grandmother comes to live with her for a little bit, but because of the issue with aging, and I think if my mom and I lived in Colorado where my grandma lives, that would definitely be the case in that situation, where we would have my grandma live with us. But that's just not the case right now. I do imagine that if I ever get married and have children of my own, as my mom ages, she will come and live with us. And so it's just kind of a little bit of a life cycle there, which is really sweet. And it does show, which I think is a lot of the case, how there are times where your relationship with one family member can be strained, like the instance between Maya and her mother, but it can be more relaxed and more tender and more sweet between another person in the family member, between Maya and her grandmother. But issues can be resolved, and the relationship can improve between what was once strained. So I don't know, it was just very, very sweet. Now, in the other world, where they do time travel, what I like, there was this reputation, this is where the golden orchard comes into play. At one point, Maya ends up in an orchard where there's a bunch of trees, and you have a keeper of the trees, and this person takes Maya to her tree, and it looks different than all the other trees. There are some trees that have limbs that are twisted, the trunk of the tree is twisted, and things kind of weave in and out. But then you have other trees that are just straight up and down, no issues, and it's just very beautiful looking. And that kind of, in a way, represents families. You have some that are just a little, twisted's not the right word, but different than what you expected. They're not the cookie cutter cutout. And so they do look a little bit different, but because it is your family, it is special. And that was, I think, a big underlying theme throughout this. I thought it was just very sweet, and I do recommend. Again, I think at the very least it's like a 3.5 star. I do have it on Goodreads as a 3-star, but the more I sit and kind of think about it, the more I think it's more like a 3.75 star. I do wish with this particular book, there is a physical copy that I could purchase. I did look, and it looks like it is only with Audible, that there is no physical book. At least according to Goodreads, there is no physical book there as far as the edition goes. I wish there was. This is definitely one that I would like to have and keep around, so that if I ever do get to have kids, this is definitely something that I would like to read with them. And or at least would like them to read and stuff. I don't know. It was just very sweet, very touching. Nothing so overly thrilling and stuff. The ability to time travel, you do learn this right from the start. It is kind of like a hereditary thing, but not everyone that's a part of the family genetically gets this ability. So you do learn a little bit like that. And that's the same thing with, with other traits. Red hair can be hereditary, but not everyone gets red hair in the family. So it's kind of a similar theme or similar thing like that. I think the narrator did a really good job with conveying Maya's personality over the audiobook, and that is definitely something that can be very difficult for narrators to do, but I think this narrator did a good job with that. As far as sometimes the stress and pressure to try and be perfect, be the perfect daughter, the perfect grandchild, the perfect artist, the perfect student, the perfect friend. And that's something that I think that Maya kind of struggled with a little bit, but she does learn to kind of let go a little bit as she learns about this ability that she has gained through her family. And I just can't say enough. It's definitely worth a listen to. So I do recommend it. So I, obviously with it being an Audible original, holy cow, what was that? Audible original, that means it's not on Scribd or anything like that, only on Audible. So if you do have access to it, I do recommend. So again, The Golden Orchard is the title, and that was by, I'm blanking, Flora Ahn. A-H-N is the last name. So by Flora. Very, very sweet book. I really do recommend this. So that'll be it for this review. So until next time, stay true to yourself and enjoy a good book. And I'll talk to you later.